Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. And if you are looking to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today, we are doing chapter 56 of Stepping Wild. Setting the groundwork for the noble's arrival started with finding out when a caravan from the Upper City would arrive. As a city close to the kingdom's border, Brokentia's road connected to 7 other cities, months away as caravan traveled, and more villages than Tibs could count along those routes. Only one road led outside the kingdom from the city to Arteron. Because of the routes Sinta had decided they would have to travel to reach Brokentia, they needed to come zenithward. That meant their caravan came from either Shimmercross or Valenmur. Since Thibault knew names of caravan masters as reference, Tibbs went to the office dealing with them, inquiring which caravans were on their way and where they headed. As an afterthought, he asked where they came from. This way, he found out Basil Mallet would arrive. Okay, that needs to change. I didn't realize I had put... Because I give her Eleanor. I'll keep the last name. He'd found out that Eleanor Mallet would arrive 3 weeks hence, with the last city before Brokentia having been Valenmur. With that information, Naris crafted letters that I don't think I need to change any of that, because he doesn't have to reveal to the caravan master that he knows all that information. With that information, Naris crafted letters that informed the city's noble of their pending arrival, of the pending arrival of Lady Rabiria Holomer and her man, Lord Tiran Holomer. You know what? Lord Tyran. Not all nobles would receive letters, and that would cause them to wonder at the reasons behind which was chosen. The letter wouldn't explain why they would be in the city, but it was an invitation. Okay, I need to... Right. Because this acts... So that goes away. The letter wouldn't explain why they would be in the city. Sinta had reversed their role when Tibbs couldn't keep his temper under control as part of an exchange with one of the actors pretending to be a noble. He'd known that going in, that this was nothing more than practice for dealing with the city's high nobles. But the sneering and barely veiled insults had brought back memories of dealing with the nobles of Craggle Rock and older ones of watching them use the people in his street. It hadn't come to blows, but only because the actor had realized Tibbs was no longer playing and backed off. So now he would be the meek man to the fierce Lady Olamere. He would still be on the receiving end of Noble's barb, but they would reserve their worst for someone with the potential to threaten them. As part of preparing for their arrival, the team pulled two jobs together, needed money to lease a home worthy of the noble he and Cinta would pretend to be. He'd wanted to go smaller, and one at the edge of the nobles. He'd wanted to go smaller and at the edge of the noble's neighborhood. He'd explained that as nobles would no longer flush with coins, it would be the reasonable decision. She'd insisted that nobles in their situation survived on the impression they made, so they'd risk ruin to do their stay right. If it worked, other nobles would rally to their help in hope of building future connections. He'd reelected because ultimately cons were her field, and this was clearly one of those to him. On top of the coins for the house, they had to furnish it. Then hire servants for it. Then came having to bribe the bureaucrat to add Noble's name to the arrival record of the caravan, and they'd have to pay the caravan master to state the same if asked. Tibs had been on enough caravans over the years to know that so long as enough coins were provided and it didn't endanger the caravan, its master didn't mind lying to the authorities. They had exhausted the coins from those two jobs well before they were done paying those that needed to be paid. Uzoma provided the target this time, a merchant who sold food to the poorer neighborhoods of the city. Tibs had refused. He wouldn't go after someone helping the poor. Only Uzuma had explained she wasn't. The woman used her money to keep other merchants from establishing themselves there. Without them to compete, she charged however much she wanted for the meager food she made available. Tibs had to verify the archer's claims. Once he did, he was eager for the job. To ensure she wouldn't simply gouge the community harder to make up what they'd take, they split the job into two parts, which became three once the time lined up with her sending the payoff to the city's official. He didn't like they had to split off, but each part of the job needed to happen on the same day and as close to each other as possible to ensure the merchant didn't realize what was happening and take steps to minimize the damage. Tibs, as the thief, had the job of breaking into the merchant's coffers. Uzuma would intercept the payoff, but because the timing was such, it might have reached the office by then, Cinta would be with him. She was the only one who could she was the only one who could be yeah, that's true. Could move about the building and not be noticed. It left Charlie to burn down the merchant's food stock. Tibs wanted to take that and give it to the neighborhoods instead, but as the fighter pointed out, they didn't have the time or resources. Without food to sell, a bribe from the official, and coins in her coffer, she wouldn't be able to stop other merchants from taking advantage of the situation, and he had to hope do a better job of providing for the poor. The merchant kept her safe in the house she shared with her man and three adult children. As with many of the successful merchants' home, it was close to the noble's neighborhood. He wished there was a way to keep her family from suffering alongside her, but mitigated that guilt by telling himself that they benefited from the crimes, that they could have stopped her, encouraged her to change her way if they were better people. The office was on the ground floor between the sitting and eating room. The Doors and windows only had mechanical locks, so he easily entered through the window. The doors and window had only mechanical. Don't think I can change that. So he easily entered through the window. The safe had simple magic within the lock, a weave almost entirely made of metal essence. From what he sensed, all that he'd need was the key with the matching weave. Without the time to confirm it, he forced his will on the essence and opened it. The coins were in neat stack on one side with 3 electrum bars beside them and 3 promises for 1,000 silver next to that. Yeah, they all went into the bag to maximize how long it took her to find out she'd been robbed. He distorted the lock, so the key wouldn't fit. The bells for the water brigade sounded as he was halfway to the room they'd meet in. He sensed them before the agreed upon knock came. How did it go? He asked, locking the door behind them. She placed 4 promises on the table next to Tibbs's hall. Perfectly. We caught up to the messenger within the office and convinced him there was an investigation going on. So we'd been sent to receive the payment because neither side wanted to be caught holding promises of this value if they were questioned by the guards. Uzuma snorted. She's simplifying it. She had me convinced the building was about to bar its door to keep any criminals from escaping. By the time she was done, he was begging her to take the promises. He ran like the abyss was after him as soon as he wasn't holding them anymore. She shrugged demurely as Tibbs raised an eyebrow to her. Charlie isn't here yet. The water brigade was called as we left the office. The brigade brings crowds on top of the fire, he said, looking over what they'd gathered. He isn't going to want to be noticed, and that means going far around all that. Can we use the promise to pay the admission? The admission clerk? Caravan leaders prefer coins. She looked the promises over. 500 silver is too much for what we're asking. Won't we be noticed? That's 6,000 silvers. We don't have to convert all of them, she replied. Those left over will be what's left of our traveling funds. Nobles like to travel with those. They aren't subject to the devaluation taking coins across borders are. We'll deal with the clerk, Tibbs said. Uzuma, you wait for Charlie. I need to make a change to account for something comes later. Coins or gems. Tibbs's presence was in case something went wrong, so he stayed back, wishing he could use an etching to ensure he wasn't noticed. Sinta charmed the clerk, then the exchange happened. He remained alert the entire walk to the room and felt justified when Uzuma waited outside the building, partially hidden in an alley. We have a problem, the archer said when they reached him. Charlie's been caught by the guards. And that concludes chapter 56 of Stepping Wild. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter will be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read this story, it is available for free on Royal Road. And if you want to read ahead of that and support me in the process, that is on Ream Story, where we are a good dozen chapters ahead. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. Links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day.